Welcome back to Zwartkops International Raceway here just west of Pretoria in South Africa, and a big welcome to everybody all around the world on our Facebook feed and on the YouTube feed. It's time for Global Touring Cars. It's round 2 of this championship, Global Touring Cars and the Global Touring Cars Super Cup. And of course a man who's synonymous with the GTCs, and right at the start of the whole Global Touring Car force that has been the force to be reckoned with in this category, Gary Fermata will be joining me in commentary for all of this action. Gaza, great to be here, buddy, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah, great to. Thanks for having me this morning, Greg.
A little bit of a change-up as to the way things have gone with the touring cars. I mean, we saw the likes of Audi and BMW getting involved, and lots of action still coming your way for the plans for 2021. Currently, we've got a BMW back on track again, which is good to see with the Universal Motorsport team, and Lee Thompson jumping into that car. The 2 Chemical Logistics Toyota Corollas, the 2 Gazoo Racing Toyota Corollas. What are the plans for GTC and the other manufacturers getting involved?
Well, I think it's safe to say that we're probably about 90% of the way there for another manufacturer, getting involved. A premium manufacturer that
awesome.
I think we're going to be quite excited to see the cars out on the circuit. Possibly with some alternative fuels, and maybe a little bit more incorporating some of the new technology that's out on the road as well, in terms of where the whole industry is going, in general, the motor industry is going. So we're looking forward to it. What it is exactly, we'll wait and find out. But we're looking forward to it. I think, look, it was a tough couple of years for us. There's no doubt about it. Last year was just tough for everybody. And I'm glad that we are right now. I don't think in this country to have this many cars in the grid, I don't think it's any mean feat at all. So Super Cup has been fantastic as well. I mean that class, I think on its own, the way it's working is a great little formula as well. The cars are certainly fantastic, and I think really providing both young drivers looking for an opportunity to step up in motorsport, wherever it may be, and also the older sort of drivers, gentlemen drivers, that have found a very cost-effective way to go racing now at a reasonable level.
I like the way you say gentlemen drivers. You know who's out there, hey? Your ex-teammate.
Ah, no, well, he
doesn't fall in that category.
On paper, he falls into the gentleman driver thing.
Okay, cool. We're talking about Sean Duminy, of course, and of course his teammate Manoj Maharaj will be joining the SMD Exotics team there. Looking forward to a big battle at the front end. But one thing I got to say, how was that lap time coming out of the Super Cup? I mean, a 1:05 out of Jeff Kruger this morning to get that pole position shows that they are slowly but surely becoming a force to be reckoned with. And I like the fact that you've given them the chance to be part and parcel of the whole deal.
Well, at the end of the day, I think it's really us giving them a chance. I think it was a no-brainer, first of all. And of course, you've got to compliment Volkswagen for just really taking initiative and getting this category off the going, investing in building the first couple of cars and giving people to buy these things at a reasonable price. You've got to also understand, from a VW point of view, they're probably one of the only manufacturers that still produce a hatchback in the country. And that's been one of the big things, just in motorsport in general here, and certainly in GTC, is, we used to be able to go and get bodywork and things like that from the factories. Of course, that's changed, and manufacturers are building one line of cars, for example, Buckies or X3s or whatever it may be on your line. So it's been difficult to get these bodies. So VW still has a unique opportunity to provide people with, as I said, a cost-effective, high-level racing car because of the fact that they manufacture here. But they're the only one. So with other guys, we still got to fight the hard battle and do what we've got to do there. But I mean, it's looking good right now. I'm happy with the Toyota thing. It looks fantastic up at the front there. And as I said, another manufacturer, I think, on their way now.
I can't wait. It's going to be really cool. One cool thing about it, you mentioned the fact that it's the Polo GTI that they sort of based the chassis on. It's Polo's 25th anniversary in the country. Polo's 25th anniversary as Polo Cup. So it's all a win-win for that particular brand. And of course, there are 2 GTI 8s sitting around in the wayside, possibly looking to come in at some point as well. Hopefully that's going to be the case. But the way things have gone in this championship so far, I mean, it's been an epic battle between the front end of the Class A's. I mean, these Toyota Corollas are certainly becoming a big force to be reckoned with, particularly with Michael van Rooyen and Robert Volk.
Yeah, look, we always thought that was going to be the championship, fight. But you've got to say that Julian van der Walt, I mean, has been outstanding since he made his debut last year in one of the Toyotas.
And then a victory in Cape Town.
Exactly. I mean, and I was quite happy to see that. I mean, just for me, that car was the car that got everything started off for GTC. It was probably built to a higher spec than what we originally started with when we kicked off here. And I always believed the car was a good car. It did some incredible lap times with me driving it, in the testing phase up to the launch of GTC. And I'm glad to see the car actually went out and won a race in Cape Town. I quite enjoyed that, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, it was also nice. And of course, that must have been the first phone call you had on Monday. Hello, Ford Racing. By the way, we've got an opportunity here for you.
Well, I tell you what, Greg, it's so difficult now. I mean, I shouldn't say difficult, but just so unique. We face a very different set of challenges in the country. For example, Ford, reducing the models they're going to be selling into the marketplace on their dealership floors. It doesn't really encompass a Ford Focus anymore, for example. So we've got to sort of try and evolve as best we can with the money we have to try and accommodate everybody and see what we can do. But I think the fact that you've got long-term deals from Toyota in the category, and I said possibly further manufacturers coming in, I think it speaks volumes. And we can't wait to get back to normal, Greg. Let's be honest. We want to get crowds out here. We want to be racing in front of people, activations, all those other things that people are involved with the sport for. It's very, very important. It's all one thing to go racing, but it's all the back-end stuff as well.
I think the other cool thing about it, of course, is when we do get back to full racing with crowds, etc., what we've done on the live stream factor can be brought in as part of that activation. You look at the way that live TV went with the likes of cricket and rugby and soccer, where they got the crowds involved and they got the people to interact with the live TV. If it's live streaming and you're getting 60, 70,000 people watching, that's what the sponsors want. Well, and if you're getting an activation with people that are at the circuit, it's going to generate feet through the door.
Well, we can only build on what we have now. And, we've always believed we've had to make the switch over to streaming, but we never quite sure when we were going to make it happen. And COVID kind of forced us into this position where we had to go live streaming, and I think it's worked out pretty well. So we're happy with what we got now. It's always great to see a sporting event live as it's happening. There's no two ways about it. And we are going to be watching the first GTC race this afternoon live. The pace car has left the line, and you see we got the green flag, and they're off onto the rolling start lap now, and of course Michael van Rooyen leading the way.
Just heads up there from Vaughan Williams saying that both Machotsi and Variawa set the identical lap times this morning in the qualifying session. And the reason why Machotsi's been bumped up ahead of Variawa is due to the fact that he set it earlier in the qualifying session. And of course he's been setting faster lap times in general between those cars. But I think we're in for a big fight here. We've got the two championship rivals in Global Touring Car Super Cup last year. Oh, Van Rooyen spun out on the warm-up lap. What is that?
Well, Greg, it is
cold Dunlops.
It is definitely cold Dunlops. Okay, they've got the white sidewalls on the car, which you can see that is the softer compound of the tires, but obviously very cold out there. And let's just hope he's been able to keep the car going. It should be able to start on its own accord, and he may have enough time to get that car back up to his pole position. But it's going to be a tough opening couple of laps, and that just shows you that they really need to put some energy into those tires now to get them up to temperature.
Well, hello, have a look at that. I mean, that's the way you're going to be starting the race, and of course that's going to just fire him up. Hopefully not too much that he goes and makes another crucial mistake, but that's definitely not what he wanted, being the pole man. The ruling there should be allowed to get back onto the pole, hey? You should be able to get up to pole. Look, and there's not that many cars to pass, to be honest with you. There we go. He'll just nip up the inside there and get back up into his position. You don't want to throw away very hard. Look, and just sticking with Michael van Rooyen now, I think his qualifying lap was quite exceptional this morning. The gap that he managed to extend between himself and Robbie Volk, it hasn't been like that through the entire weekend. This was really the ultimate lap. So let's see if he can get out there. He wants to make up. Remember, Michael came in as a championship favourite. It hasn't gone well for him. It didn't go well for him in Cape Town. He needs a maximum points haul if he can this weekend. Our idea here, of course, is to get the maximum points right from the word go. We've got two separate starts here, remember. We start things out with Global Touring Cars with Michael van Rooyen on the front row ahead of Robert Volk. The two of them will now dictate the pace as they come through. The Toyota 86 moved off the circuit, and then you've got the Ford of Julian van der Walt and Scott Temple in the second of the Investchem Chemical Logistics cars there. A great effort there from him to be on the second row. Manda Ndakani, of course, celebrating his birthday yesterday. We were looking for a birthday present. Lee Thompson a little bit off the pace there in the BMW, but he said to me yesterday for Team Red Racing he was battling a little bit to get the pace. But let's see if he picks it up now into race one as they head down into turn one, Volkswagen corner. And a touch! And Ndakani has come together there with Temple. Temple touches the back end and just gets out of shape. Van der Walt just got it all wrong. Van der Walt took out Temple by the looks of things, and then it was Ndakani trying to go around the outside of the two of them. They're stuck in the middle, and watch out because GTC Super Cup are about to come flying down for their start. Are they going to hold that start possibly? Will they hold the start because of where the cars are? So Ndakani goes through turn two. He's managed just to survive, but heading down into turn two now is Julian van der Walt, the man who caused all the issues. There you go. Johan de Bruyn has been caught out by the incident into turn one. The Odacure car heads up into the kiddie litter, and the rest of them seem to have just got through there. We didn't get to see the start, but it looks like Jeff Kruger's been able to hang on ahead of Brad Liebenberg, Machotsi and Campos. Yeah, that was quite hair-raising, Craig, I must say, to have a start of the race where you've got a car parked sideways across the track and you're blinded going into that turn one. I think that could have resulted in some disaster, but luckily it hasn't, and everybody's got through, and we are on our way in Super Cup. Well, heading up in the Super Cup, it is Jeff Kruger who leads out for Universal Motorsport and Team Red Racing. It's the Rustenburg Rocket who leads out in the front of GTCs. He's got the lead over Robert Volk. The championship rivals going at it there. Remember, as Gary was saying earlier on, didn't quite go according to plan there for Michael van Rooyen down in Cape Town, but it's certainly going according to plan, despite the mistake in turn two and those cold tyres. Yeah, in the background, there's Don Mercedes spinning out. Besaidnout spins out at the top of the hill. They're coming down the hill. He's got it all wrong, and fortunately just gets it back on track. But a big mistake there from Andre Besaidnout. Frisco getting out of shape there for the Team Perfect Circle car, and this is what you want, hey?
Well,
this is the kind of action.
And there is the
safety
car that's out there. It's a little bit disjointed now in the middle of the GTC pack, but nonetheless, you've got to have expected that one. Temple was parked on the outside of turn 1 there in a very dangerous position, so they had to bring this safety car out now and just give everybody something. You can see there's damage to the car as well, so that is a bit of a problem, unfortunately. A tough one, but Temple's also been going well. It is a great car. I mean, Stuart Thompson, the team, prepare those cars exceptionally well. There's no doubt about it. They're beautiful cars, and it is quite sad to see a nice piece of kit like that standing as it is there.
I wonder if Van Rooyen's going to slow down and allow that Toyota 86 to close in and catch him, or is he going to have to go all the way around and slot into the back? Because I think they've just missed the lead there with the safety car.
They have.
Which means Van Rooyen, he realizes that in the safety car he's probably going to slow down anyway. So he may still be able to get there. And I wonder if there's going to be a possibility of a red flag scenario here. I can hear in my ear possible red flag. So a restart going to be up for grabs here. And with the restart, Gary, now we've completed 1 lap of racing. So does that mean we're going to be putting them into their race positions as opposed to going back to the original?
No, well, we should go to the original positions as far as I'm concerned, but we'd have to just wait and see what the story is. But that should be the case there. But I'm also looking at Manda's cars. They also got a bit of damage on it. So let's just see how that one pans out and see if they are allowed to fix anything on the grid, and that's going to be the big issue, or if he would go back to the pit lane. But that was unfortunate, I must say. With the amount of cars, unfortunately, we've got GTC at this point in time. Yes, we are racing. We'd like to see more cars, no doubt about it. But this is unfortunately one of those things. You have 2 cars coming together, and kind of takes out a big chunk of your field, which is not great.
Okay, so Lee Thompson has just corrected us in terms of what we thought. He's moved to 3rd place, so they're going to take up their positions because they did complete 1 lap of race action. If they hadn't completed that, they probably would have gone to original grid start.
Yeah, correct.
So we'll wait for the rest of the Global Touring cars to come through. Van der Walt will have to slot in there into the 5 spot, just behind Mandla Nakani, and then it'll be Jeff Kruger ahead of Brad Liebenberg. Liebenberg will be just ahead, of course, of Machotzi. Machotzi was just ahead of Campos as we go under red flag for the first race here of Global Touring cars and the Super Cup category combined. That's the reason why. Temple coming together with Van der Walt through turn 1. He got out of shape and broke the back left-hand side. We're going to try and get a replay for you if we can. And then right around the outside, Ndakani was just trying to get around the outside. And unfortunately, I think that was actually what caused the problem there on Temple's car, was the little touch between Ndakani and himself as he went through. The two of them were sideways into turn 1 there, probably still also on cold Dunlop. And guys are not realizing that today's overcast conditions are not giving you the same amount of track temperatures you had yesterday.
It was a great day yesterday, very hot out here in fact yesterday. But let's see, going back to the Temple accident, let's just see if that was caused by the first incident, or in fact by the second part of it where he collected, who was it collected? I think Ndakani. I think that's where the damage could have come from. That's why we see the resulting damage on Ndakani's car as well. So let's see what...
Johanna Brain was the man who got caught out as they went through there. Of course, he was sitting in about 6th place in the Global Touring Car Super Cup class, and he just had nowhere to go. I think when everybody started taking evasive action, he just ended up worst for wear and went into the kiddie litter just where Temple was, actually just to the right of where Temple's car is. Big pity there for that, to lose that car so early on.
It is a big pity, and as I said, a great car, and a car that's certainly capable of winning the races today. But unfortunately, close racing is going to result in this sort of thing sometimes. But nonetheless, it's just right now with the kind of cars we've got out there, we want to see all 6 of them, as we did in Cape Town.
Please.
Ding dong.
Please. Listen, I know that you mentioned Stuart Thompson and the ability for him to make miracles happen. I wonder if there's a possibility they could get that Toyota sorted out for race number 2. He's certainly going to try hard. But under red flag situation, and a restart will be on the cards as well. We'll be looking forward to seeing probably a more clearer start from Global Touring Car Super Cups. Unbelievable. That's the way we go.
Well, let's hope so. Look, getting back to Temple's car again, to repair it's not that bad. The suspension, etc., bolts off, and you can bolt.
There's that gentleman we were talking about.
That's the one, the gentleman driver we were talking about, 100%.
Sean Duminy there for the SMD Exotic team. His teammate will be alongside him. Luso Cafe, of course, one of their sponsors. In the background, on lap 1 as well, that Team Perfect Circle car of Andre Besaidnout, a big moment down between 7 and 8 down the hill. I'm not quite sure what went wrong there. Maybe just a wheel on the dirt that just looped him out?
It could well have been. We didn't see the whole thing, but, taking it, assuming, that, as we said, the tyre temperatures are going to be cold. The rear tyres on these front-wheel drive cars take a little bit longer to warm than the fronts, obviously, because there's no drive, no braking going through them, and possibly just a little bit nervous on that first lap with the cold temperatures.
You spoke about the gentleman drivers. Let's mention them a little bit there. We got Johanna Brain, we've spoken about him. You've also got Davy Joubert, who's joined us all the way from Cape Town, Manaj Maharaj, Paul Hill, and Nick Davidson. All sort of elderly statesmen, more opposed to sort of what we're seeing with Machotzi, Brad, and Jeff, were the young guns of this racing. So there's kind of a bit of a masters class that have come in.
Well, there's a masters class. In fact, there's a trophy for it as well. And, we did the trophy will be in honor of past a Formula One driver in South Africa, South African Formula One driver. We hopefully announce that at the next race meeting. So there's definitely a class for the Masters. And these guys are also racing and running, far bigger and more powerful cars, but just really seeing a lot of value in this as well. And you come here, the thing is, Greg, if you ding this thing versus your Aston or your Ferrari or whatever it is that you got out there, it's a little bit easier to stomach and to palate and to sort out. Those cars. And you can race closely without being worried about, do I really want to scratch my Ferrari or anything? You can get stuck in and have a bit of a go. It's not the end of the world to have a race. And that's what you're here for. You want to go racing.
Yeah. You're not going to hold back. And there's a lot of times the guys have said, are we here to race or are we here to hold back and have fun? They're here to race.
Yeah.
And most of these guys have come out of categories where they do give it everything they can in a lot more expensive cars than what we got in the Global Touring Car Super Cup. But take nothing away. Good effort here from the Zwartkops and Kyle Army Marshals combined now. Remember, it's a big conglomeration there between Zwartkops and the original Kyle Army Marshals. They're all based here, of course, now at Zwartkops with the change up at the circuit down the road. But great to see that they have been able to get that car onto the back of Big Max and back into pit lane relatively quickly. There's the scrape from Indikani's car.
Big knock there, Greg. I mean, you can look at the door there. The doors take quite a lot of punishment.
Back wheel looks okay, though.
And the beeper is right there, so there's quite a solid part of the car which made contact with. You can see it there on the inside now. That's it's where it made contact, and obviously now that would have caused a bit of damage to Temple's car, unfortunately.
Indikani looks like he's okay, and by the looks of things, we'll be restarting with no issues, other than this little bit of scrapes and bangs and bashes on the side of the car. So we are almost good to go now for a restart. I can see your race director there, making sure that everything's okay. Vaughan Williams, of course, the race director for Global Touring Cars this year, in the mid-pack there, just to make sure that everybody is good to go. And I think we're in for a bit of a calmer start, because that's usually what happens when you have a scenario like this. Although, when you look at those front two, they're not that calm when they come to racing.
Well, this is the secret, Greg. You kind of, as a driver, you're thinking to yourself, now we've had a bit of drama at the first start. Going into the second one, am I the one that goes even harder to take advantage of everybody else's caution, or do I play the cautious game? This is now the flip that you've got to make in your mind as a driver now.
Exactly. This man in the Sparko car will, of course, not be holding anything back. Brad Liebenberg hardly holds anything back in any stage of his racing career. And if Machotsi goes with him, the two Volkswagen machines will be flying through there to try and get ahead of early race leader Jeff Kruger, who got a good start. But I think Kruger was very lucky to go into turn one and avoid. He was the first car to get there, would have seen it, and didn't have to worry about other cars left and right of him, and not having to get through the fracas that was in turn one down at Volkswagen corner. Yeah,
that's one of the things when you've got two classes in a race, and how the guys have wanted to work each other. They've really wanted to separate the Super Cup race, and it is quite nerve-wracking. It was always going to be a possibility, but having said that, were they all queued up right behind, maybe they would have nowhere to go and collected him anyway. So it's always 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
What do they say? Pick a line you can drive through. Eh?
Yeah, was it Days of Thunder?
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. Cold Trickle. There you go. Pick a line I can drive through. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. De Bruyn will tell you that sometimes it doesn't. You can see him just waving there. So I wonder if De Bruyn's got a bit of an issue. He's just calling Vaughan over to say what's going to happen. It should be a full restart here, which means we'll go back to the full 12 laps of action as well, because we only completed one, which means that, of course, there's no loss. And it'll be a full restart, which means we don't really have to worry about combining two races either. That's always a difficult thing to do when we're watching on a live stream. A bit more easier to sort of explain to people that are here at the circuit. But when you're on the live stream and they don't have the ability to see all the combinations and the results that get posted, of course, it makes it a bit more difficult. There's a nice team as well, Creative Inc. and the Toys R Us team there. Yep. Young driver in there too, looking forward to a good season with Mikel Patamba.
Yeah, that's right. And as you quite rightly said, Greg, some of these young drivers really quick and great to see them getting an opportunity. I think the Super Cup car is a nice car. It's got big stick tires. It's got a little bit of air on it. It's got that sequential gearbox. Just a little bit more than a Polo Cup. And I think just serving, depending on how you want to do it and what your route is, you choose. It's certainly, if I was a young kid today, this is something definitely that I'd want to be.
Yeah, for sure. You probably want to come out of karting, go into Polo Cup, get a bit of experience in Polo Cup, move on to Super Cup and see what it can do, and then extend your career into saloon car racing.
Absolutely.
The other cool thing we can mention about those Super Cup cars is they've been very proven in the Endurance Championship too, with Team Perfect Circle last year, and this year now with the Bucket List Racing boys and Mikel Patamba's team too.
Well, that's the thing, Greg. So the guys are buying cars that are not only able to race here in GTC, So this, with COVID last year, we saw a couple of the GTC cars racing in the South African Endurance Series. We're seeing some of these Super Cup cars out there, and they are reliable, which is fantastic. And it tells you when the car's reliable in long racing, it means it's going to be good over the season.
For sure.
And that's what the guys are looking for.
Well, we got Marlene telling everybody to start their engines and get ready to go. There's another man from Cape Town we spoke about earlier on, Davy Jabert, the Wild Rose Gin car, just ahead of Davidson. Davidson ahead of De Bruyn, and at the back there, Paul Hill who also tried to avoid all the action in the Kalex car as they get ready to go. So we're almost good to go here for the restart of race number 1. 12 laps of action here in Global Touring Cars. All these cars shod with Dunlop tyres, and looking forward to hopefully a cleaner start than what we saw, which lost us Scott Temple in the race number 1. They will do a warm-up lap just to get a little bit of heat into the rubber. Hopefully Michael van Rooyen will realize it is a warm-up lap.
Yeah, I think so. He'll have more heat in his tyres this time. Listen, it happens, Greg. You know what I did here at Zwartkops in the morning.
I'm not going to say that.
It happens. It happens. These are the GTC cars are rear-wheel drive cars. You know, you've got to get the traction up at the rear end, and you know that's how they work. So two very different types of cars that we have in the field here with GTC and Super Cup. But the great thing is, you know, seeing Temple come up, seeing Van der Walt come up into this category now, into GTC. You know, these guys, the young guys, are able to adapt quickly and get going. So I'd really like to see guys like Liebenberg, Jeffrey Kruger, also in the top class, you know, having a great battle. And I think that's where the future is. And that was always the idea of GTC, was to create a home or an environment where drivers would potentially not going to go overseas, but at least be able to develop some sort of semi-professional career here.
Of course, yeah, that's the way to do it. Right, so everybody rolling down into turn 1 Volkswagen corner now for the restart of race 1 of Global Touring Cars and the GTC Super Cup. Let's see whether or not we can get a clean start on this one. It'll be Jeff Kruger to dictate the pace in the Super Cups, and Michael van Rooyen will be doing the same thing as soon as that Toyota 86 moves off the circuit. That's the official pace car here for Zwartkops, a long-standing relationship with the Pretoria Noord dealership of the Toyota brand. And of course, a massive thanks to them for supplying not only the safety cars but also for the medical team's cars as well. And they were brought into action yesterday with one of the ZX10 cars going down here. Fortunately, okay, broken femur, but other than that, back up and riding as soon as possible, and as soon as the doctors allow Clint Mutton to be back onto a ZX10 team. Global Touring Cars though, race number 1, the restart. It's Van Rooyen from Volk. 2 Toyotas on the front row there. Julian van der Walt will be on his own on the second row. Ndakani and Lee Thompson in the lone BMW will be at the back. So we've got BMW, Ford, Focus and Toyota Corollas fighting hard here for the first heat of the Global Touring Cars. A little break in the proceedings, and then we'll go back to the start for Global Touring Cars Super Cup. The Super Cup class certainly looking like it's going to be a big bit of action as well, with Jeff Kruger dictating the pace ahead of Brad Liebenberg and Jason Campos ahead of Saud Variawa. Let's see if they can keep it all together now for this restart. You can see the revs picking up, the pace picks up ever so slightly as Van Rooyen will now dictate the pace. Rolling start as well, awesome, an interesting way of doing things, because of course it's up to the man on pole position to dictate the pace, and you may not accelerate. You've got to hold that acceleration pace until the lights go out, and then of course hit the hammer and give it everything you can down into turn number 1, Volkswagen corner. Here we go.
All the championship contenders up in the front there, and of course the prime thing to remember here is to get to the first corner, stay in the race and score the points, Greg. We don't want to repeat of the first start we had today.
Everybody clean and clear this time out as they go down towards turn 2. Late braking from Van Rooyen, holds onto the whole shot and keeps out Volk as they go into turn 2. GTC sits in the background, going to start the Super Cup category. Van der Walt going side by side with Ndakani, and Ndakani's already got some battle scars on the left-hand side, now looking for battle scars on the right-hand side. Good start from Johan de Bruyn, trying to make up the ground that he lost earlier on as he sneaks up on the inside of Germany. Germany going to keep him honest. Jeff Kruger keeping Brad Liebenberg out at this point in time, and look at Mahotsi fighting hard with Campos. Campos slots in behind him. Variawa, then it's Besaidnout followed by Patamba. Patamba's got de Bruyn on his tail, and then it's Germany ahead of Paul Hill. Back to the front of Global Touring Cars, and here we go. Late braking from Volk, just closing the gap down there on Van Rooyen, and then a battle of note for third place here with Van der Walt in the 3 spot, and the BM from Team Raid Racing, they're in 4.
You know, yesterday in practice, Robbie Volk's second fastest lap times were pretty consistent, you know, maybe even slightly better than Michael's, which tells you that over the race, this thing could bunch up and become quite a serious battle for the front.
I think we're going to be a back battle at the back here as well, as here we can see Patamba on the inside of Besaidnout keeping him honest. Here comes de Bruyn, his arch rival, good friends off the track, but arch rivals on it. You can see the battle is on there. Here comes Kruger, late on the brakes. Can he hang on? Variawa diving on the inside of Campos, trying to find a way through. It's Jeff Kruger versus Brad Liebenberg. Mahotzi's the meat in the sandwich there between the two fights on track in the Super Cup classes. They go down towards turn 1 for the first time. Look at that. Oh, de Bruyn is through on Besaidnout. Here comes Germany, and on the inside, Paul Hill. Paul Hill out of nowhere, so late on the brakes there in the Kalex car, dives on the inside of that SMD Exotics machine of Germany, and he makes the move and makes it stick. Good move.
I'll tell you what, look, the qualifying time this morning for the GTC Super Cups was absolutely unbelievable. The top 3 cars were within a couple of hundredths of each other. So out of that, the loser was Jason Campos. I mean, he was right up there with Kruger and Liebenberg, and I think wanting to make that count. Now, obviously, we've got Mahotsi in the mix as well, and Variawa. So it's great stuff up at the front of Super Cup.
And here we go back to Global Touring Cars at the front end. It's Van Rooyen and Volk. Van der Walt keeping out Lee Thompson. Lee Thompson, the one factor that Lee Thompson is going to have over Van der Walt here, even though Van der Walt has driven in single-seaters here in the past, he's going to have the ability with a little bit more lap times. I mean, you think about the amount of time that Lee Thompson has spent on this circuit developing all sorts of race cars. That experience is going to pay off. Whether you've got a car that can compete or not, the experience of staying in a pack with a car that might not be on pace is going to be what Lee Thompson looks to do now as his teammate leads out in the Super Cup class. Ahead of Liebenberg. Liebenberg pushing hard, opening up a little margin there. Oh, in the background, that's De Bruyn. De Bruyn spun out in the background.
Hasn't been a good race for him so far.
Tough one there for Jan De Bruyn. Back on track though, the Odacure car gets back on track. Has he gone right to the back of the field? I think Minaj Maharaj might be just behind him. He had a bit of issues there on that first lap. It could possibly have been Sean Germany as well. I see them dropping down into the back end of that field. So Germany and Maharaj having a little bit of issues there for the SMD Exotics car. Back to the front end though. Here comes Thompson applying the pressure onto Van der Walt. And will BMW going really well at this point, trying to close that gap onto race winner from race 2 in Cape Town, Julian Van der Walt.
Yeah, I think for De Bruyn, he was really having a cracker race. In terms, we said it wasn't a good race, but he obviously had that first incident, the first start, came through the field very nicely, and then of course now unfortunately lost it again. So from nothing wrong with the pace, just an unlucky race.
Maybe just pushing a little bit too hard, not in that race rhythm that he would normally be in. Knocked him out of the way he'd like to race this the first heat of the day. Here we come under braking now for G&H Transport Corner, and Liebenberg just applying the pressure onto Jeff Kruger. Remember, these cars also run with a sort of a DRS system, the push-to-pass system. They're allowed, I think, 8. Michael van Rooyen leads out of the front end of GTCs, and at the front end of the Super Cup, it's all about Jeff Kruger and Brad Liebenberg.
Yeah, so up in GTC now, it's obviously going to be now over the laps now. Who's got the right setup? Who's got the right tyre pressures? And the guys play a lot with the pressures, like they're doing category like Formula 1, where these tyres are super sensitive to that. And if you get them slightly wrong, it does take away from the longevity of the tyre during the race. So it's really crucial that these guys have got that all panned out and sorted out now.
One thing that just got put into my ears here from the race director, Vaughan Williams, is the fact that Stuart Thompson's team might be a bit concerned about Robert Volk's fuel load. That you know how important it is to get just enough fuel in the car to run a certain amount of laps, and they may not have filled the car enough to get him to the end because of the restart, and having to have that additional lap, there may be a bit of issue. How was that? There's a little bit of maneuver, rip off the back bumper and get that car on track, and that's exactly what Thompson has done to get the second of the Chemical Logistics Investchem cars onto the circuit, and that is a great effort there from the team to get Temple's car back on track.
Yeah, that's important as well. Just use this race to basically just iron out any hassles that may exist in that car, but great to see they've changed the whole rear corner of that car, which is actually fantastic. So that wasn't a small job that they've just done.
Whip it out, get that back end sorted out and get him onto the circuit as quickly as possible. Great job there from the team. Now, as we go back to Super Cup, you can see Machotzi losing a little bit of ground to Brad Liebenberg. Liebenberg also about 2-3 car lengths behind Jeff Kruger. It's equidistant between those top 5. As you see, Julian Van der Walt now still under pressure there. The race driver SA and Euro Performance car is battling a little bit to try and close onto the back end of that Toyota of Robert Volk. Coming up on some back markers now, that's Maharaj that they're closing on. So Maharaj now with a bit of issues to be sorted out, and I think he could be a man that may just spoil the day there for one of the Toyotas. No, stays out of the way, allows them both through. But here we go, under braking for turn 2. Will Lee Thompson try and work out if there's an opportunity here to use the back marker to his advantage?
Yeah, there could well be. I did see Van der Walt diving to the inside to get past the lap car. There he is there. He's overshot it slightly, but there's Lee. Now he's come out maybe a little bit closer for that long run up to turn 4.
Liebenberg closing again on Kruger. Kruger controlling things there from the front end of the Super Cup class. It's Machotzi and Campos Variawa, Saud Variawa, just incredible young driver there. Certainly a man to be watching out for in the future of this sport as well, as he's got to grips with that car very quickly. They come out of turn 2, see them putting it onto 3 wheels out of turn 2 in these Super Cup cars. And there's a bit of a gap now that's opened up to the 6th place car. Mikel Patumba with Paul Hill on his tail, then it's Davidson and Maharaj. I'm just a bit concerned about where Poseidon and De Bruyn have gone. They've dropped right to the back of the field. So they must have had an issue somewhere on track that we didn't pick up on as well. As we watch the Super Cup cars, we're watching now the front end of Global Touring cars head down the hill.
Yeah, Greg, this track, it's a short little track and a very technical little track, but a difficult track in terms of braking, keeping the brakes cool, and of course keeping their air intakes cool. So let's see how that is going to play a part in the ability for these cars to stay close enough to each other to actually race in both categories. That is going to be today. So just watch out for a bit of stretch in the field as the race goes on due to those two factors.
The one thing I want to bring in there right now, you mentioned the fact that there's going to be that concern, but this is a 12 lapper. The second race, remember, is going to be a 16-lapper, so it's even more vitally important to get it right and get it ready. So I think that's the reason why they may have sent that Toyota Corolla out there, just to go and have a look and see if they've got everything sorted out and they can maybe get the car back on track and ready to go now for the 16-lapper a bit later on.
100%, Greg. You couldn't have said it any better. That's exactly what they're going to do now. Just use this first race as a sort of a shakedown, if you like, for that car now that they've sort of, in essence, rebuilt some of it, and get it ready for this. Because if you've got your toes or whatever it may be slightly out for the 16-lapper, it is going to put more strain on the tyres. The tyres not going to work and the car's not going to be able to shape to do it.
Now, I wonder if there's also some method in their madness, because if he does stay out there and gets enough laps in to be classified, the reverse grid comes in.
Correct.
You may even see Temple on pole position. That'll be a turnaround.
Exactly, and change the whole days. And of course, also, Greg, with the amount of cars in the field, do you want to score the points?
Yes.
If there's points up for grabs, it's a long...
Machotti, sorry to jump in the gas. Machotti had a big look there on Brad Liebenberg. Liebenberg had to go exceptionally defensive coming out of turn 5. This is going to help Jeff Kruger out here big time. If he's having to fight so hard to keep Jonathan Machotti yesterday in the third session was actually quickest. So he found some great pace in that Volkswagen Motorsport machine.
Yeah, it's great to see Machotti up there. And listen, I think in that class, you've got, I think, 4 or 5 guys that are also capable of winning races. No doubt about that. So who's got it right in the day? Who's got the setup right in the day? That's all it comes down to now.
Haven't mentioned much about the Toyota Gazoo Racing man out front, but he's done the job that he needs to do at this point. There are some big maneuvers coming out of Van der Walt, though. Van der Walt is slowly but surely closing in on Robert Volk. So that gap has closed down big time. And we're definitely in for a bit of a tough finish to this one. I don't have a... See if my timing monitor will give a little refresh here just to see where we are in terms of this race. But it's a 12-lapper, remember, so we've got a little bit of fun still to happen here as we go back to the Super Cup class. Kruger leading out there for Team Red Racing and Universal Motorsport. And he's got a little bit of a margin now due to the fact that Brad Liebenberg has had to go so defensive to keep Machotti out.
And of course in Super Cup they're still running with the push to pass, as you said, so it depends on where they're going to go with that. But GTC we scrapped the push to pass. Everybody sort of worked out where their best place use it was, and then everyone was doing so. It was all the same, so who just left it off? So maybe Super Cup they're still learning it, and that still works quite well.
The one cool thing, of course, is if those manufacturers start coming back in, and of course the manufacturer support is vital in motorsport, as we've seen through the careers that you've had on track and I've had on the mic. Great to have those opportunities for the change up in the rules and to play around with the rules. Have that push to pass mechanism available initially. Maybe look at what we had in V8s with the white line rule to allow a little bit of extra passing. Or just the balance of performance. It's always an important factor.
Well, there's all those things, Greg, that you take into consideration. At the end of the day, you want to see a good show. So we're seeing 4 cars up the front of the field here, which is not a bad. We want to see cars racing nose to tail. Not too bad at a circuit like this, I must say, although we'd like it a little bit closer. But there's always room to do things better and always room to make certain changes.
Paul Hill spinning out down at turn 2 there as well, losing a lot of positions. That's a big mistake there from him. He was running really nicely. Looks like Andre Besodeno might have got through on him, and that may have been the reason for him to lose out there. We've got about 3.5 laps to go, or 3 laps to go as they pass this time out. So we're going to be completing lap number 9 now of this race. And a great start here, as I said, for Global Touring Cars for the second round of this championship. It's a good start to the season as well. We saw a good clean racing down in Cape Town. Yeah, we had a little bit of incident, but the car is back on track, and there's a good possibility that it, as I said earlier on, may see Scott Temple on pole position if he gets enough laps in the bag to be classified and still be in with a chance of that inversion. If he isn't, he'll still start in 6th place and still within a chance of getting to the front end with 16 laps in the next one. How does the tyre factor come in with that 16 lap?
Listen, as I said, if the guys have got the right pressures in the tyres, they've got the right setup in the tyres, these tyres do last. There's not a problem with that. We see them racing. They use the same tyre. In fact, in the V8 supercars in Australia, or supercars in Australia now, they do longer races over there. So there's no other tyres. The heat cycle, more importantly, you put the thing to a heat cycle, stop, start again. That's what puts the strain onto the tyre. But there's nothing wrong with the tyres. But they've been a great tyre. Dunlop have given us a great tyre from the onset of this championship. We came out with a very hard tyre. We weren't sure what we were going to get. The tyre was a bit slow. They very quickly adapted for us, gave us the softer tyre, and it's been a fantastic tyre. Just a great company to work with, and really good. We haven't had any tyre issues at all.
Sumitomo is certainly an incredible company to be involved in motorsport and putting them, I think, where their mouths are, not only here but also in Polo Cup and a lot of other categories. You've got Car Care Clinic running under them, and of course both those categories that they sponsor with Super Hatch and Triple One's also running on the Dunlop brand. So they certainly are putting a lot back into the sport. Great to see the fights here as Campos is coming under a little bit of pressure there from Variawa going to the closing stage. You've got 2.5 laps to go here for Van Rooyen as he heads up into turn 5. Podzok, there'll always be a big crowd there on a usual race day, but today of course we're going to have all our crowds via our live stream feed, and a big welcome of course to everybody on the live stream feeds on Facebook and on our YouTube. Hope you're enjoying all this action here from round 2 of the Extreme Festival. It's Greg Maloney, the voice of choice, and in the studio with me today it's Gary Formato taking us through race 1 here of Global Touring Cars.
Yeah, and Van Rooyen now just been able to open up that gap of the last couple of laps, which is nice and comfortable for him. If you are out in the front there, you don't want to be, if possible, not going into the last couple of laps where somebody can dive bomb you, but being able to pull out that gap, which tells you the car is set up well. The big thing, Julian van der Walt, been the big move here. He's got up to Robbie Volk, not in a position to overtake, but he certainly closed the gap to that car.
But he is coming up on back markers, and it's the back markers of the Super Cup class that they might catch here. They're on the final lap here, so there's a good possibility that those Super Cup cars could be a bit of a bone of contention for the Global Touring Cars. Super Cup starts their final lap now with Jeff Kruger still at the front. A little bit of a margin open up there from Brad Liebenberg to keep ahead, but now you can see going to the front end. Paul Hill has recovered, but he has been passed and got through with all of the Global Touring Car cars. Global Touring Cars now heading up to the top of the hill. That, of course, is Ndakani. We're waiting for Michael van Rooyen heading down the hill now to the checkered flag. Van Rooyen will be the man looking to take the checkered flag as he comes down into the final corner. He's ahead of Robert Volk. Robert Volk is going to come through for second place there. The Chemical Logistics car will take second place behind. Great run there from the Rustenburg Rocket. He needed that, as you said, Gary.
He did. He needed to come out here and just score everything that he possibly could. So pole position, race 1 win. He's doing the job that he needs to. I think the big question now for Mark is how's it going to go in race 2? He's going to have to keep his head in those opening laps there. It is a tight track, so the first couple of laps, as we've seen, is difficult. He needs to keep that car on course and make his way through the field in race 2.
There goes on to Besaidnout. Besaidnout at the moment sitting down in about 6th place in the Super Cup class. Jeff Kruger is the leader. Here he comes, under braking for the final corner. Brad Liebenberg has closed in on him, but he's not going to get through. Kruger's going to capitalize on that pole position and take the first victory of the day there for Super Cup ahead of Liebenberg. And Ndakani's a good friend there, Jonathan Machotsi, coming through for 3rd place. Great run there from Jono. He hangs on for 3rd ahead of Campos and Saward Variawa. Here's the battle for 7th and 8th as they head down the hill there. Oh, great action here, actually. It's Mikel Patamba and Davidson all over the back end there of Dumini. Dumini trying to hang on. Can he keep it all together? Yes, it looks like he can. Only just to take it to the line ahead of Mikel Patamba. Toys R Us versus the SMD Exotics cars. That's kind of like the toys for big boys and the toys for kids, eh?
Exactly. Couldn't have said it any better, Greg. Yeah.
Oh, lovely stuff. Nice drive there and a good recovery from Johan de Bruyn as well. Unfortunately, dropping to the back end of the field. He'll be finishing up at about 9th place overall in the GTC Super Cup. And, of course, it'll be 15th overall on track as well. Gary, thank you so much for joining me, buddy. We'll catch you later on for the 16-lapper. Gary Formato there joining us for all the race action here from Global Touring Cars race number 1. It was certainly action-packed. Hope you enjoyed all of that. We're going to have a small break in proceedings after we've had the interviews, of course, down in the Park Vermeer area. We've got a track clean-up before we go back into the two-wheeled action for today. And that, of course, is the Sunbet ZX10 R Masters Cup, which will be making their way onto the circuit in the very near future. So that's how we finish up Global Touring Cars and Global Touring Cars Super Cup. Michael van Rooyen, Robert Volk, Julian van der Walt, Lee Thompson and Mandla Ndakani, your top 5. Kruger taking the Super Cup class ahead of Brad Liebenberg. And then it was Jonathan Machotsi, Jason Campos, Saward Variawa. Andre Besaidnout hung on for 6th place ahead of Sean Dumini, Mikel Patamba, Nick Davidson, Johan de Bruyn. And finally, Paul Hill ahead of Manoj Maharaj. That's how we finish things up here for the first race of the Global Touring Cars and Global Touring Cars Super Cup category. Well, Jeff, first and foremost, an incredible effort there to get the race victory, but we didn't quite see what happened into turn 1 with the 2 GTCs spinning out in front of you. How did you manage to get through on that?
Yeah, so when the lights went out, immediately looked straight ahead and I just saw a yellow flag and some dust, so I knew there was some trouble, but obviously don't know the extent of it until we come around. And then, I'm not sure how we all managed to miss poor Scott there lying in the middle of the apex there. But luckily no one had a serious incident. But I had a nice little lead after that. Unfortunately, it was expected to be a red flag, so that's understandable. But after that, I was under a lot of pressure from Brad. He drove very well, and the pace was really strong. So I think the next race, starting from 6, is going to be extremely tough. But that's why we're going to race.
4 more laps to try and get to the front, though.
That's it. They've added 4 more laps for us. We're going to have to manage the tyres a bit, try to get them to the end. But they seem to hold up quite nicely in this race. So, we'll give it everything.
Good luck for the second one.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Michael, you came into this round looking good. You had to go out to try and get as many points as possible. But take us through the warm-up lap, first of all.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Greg, to be honest, I got a lucky slide in turn 1 and I thought, okay, the tyres should have enough heat, and turn 2 they just didn't, and spun the car around and just managed to get it going luckily again and rejoin.
They must have fired you up because you came through like a rocket ship through turn 1, but then of course the race was stopped. You had to get back and do it again.
Yes, look, my heart was in my throat because I had such a good start as well on the first time. To do it again was a bit nerve-wracking, but Vol got a much better start in the second round. And yes, battled to get away from him, but eventually I got a bit of a gap and managed to keep it.
Got to come from the back in the second one now. You think he's got capability of doing it with a couple of more laps to play?
Well, I think at least it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be a very good battle, and we're definitely going to give it a go.
Good luck for the second one, buddy.
Thanks so much.
Welcome back to action here from the second round of the Extreme Festival, second round of Global Touring Cars. And it's a 16-lapper that's about to happen. It's a reverse grid for the top cars as well. So looking forward to, of course, action that will be happening out on circuit now for Global Touring Cars here in this second heat of the day. 16 lappers coming away. It's a little bit longer than the last time. We had 12. We had big action in the first race, as you would have seen if you joined us earlier on in this live stream feed via Facebook and YouTube. But the reverse grid will definitely see a bit of a change up in terms of strategy. We heard it from race one winner Michael van Rooyen as he got into the mix. Kelly Gregory's looking for her lovely young lady. Oh, wallets are flying and going missing here by the looks of things, eh? Nice racing female category as well, Carl. Thanks a lot, and give them a heads up for us. It's a great show that they put on there. Is there a battle squad cars out there? And if there is, Scott Temple will be back in the mix and possibly on pole position. So his strategy to get out onto the circuit might have been a good one to ensure that he is on pole position. It's a bit of a change up for his luck after a big incident in turn one that saw the first race stopped and had to do a full restart. He got back on track about 3 laps down, still classified in that first race. So nice job there from Stuart and the team. Stu ripping the car to pieces by the sounds of things to get it back onto the circuit, but it was a good effort and great little attempt to get Temple back on track, which has worked out in their favour, as you can see, because he goes on pole position alongside yesterday's birthday boy, Mandla Ndakani. What are the chances of Ndakani possibly coming through here for a race victory? It's going to be a hard one to do because you got to fend off the attack of multiple SA champions in their own right on your tail, including Lee Thompson and, of course, Michael van Rooyen, race winner in the sister car from Toyota Gazoo Racing. Reverse grid as well coming out of our Super Cup category. And we're going to see Campos fighting with Liebenberg and Jeff Kruger to get through that reverse grid. It's not the full reverse grid of all 13 cars in Super Cup. As you can see, Davidson alongside, I think, Andre Besaidnout, and then it'll be Johan de Bruin, which will be looking at... no, in fact, it is Jeff Kruger that's there. So the reverse grid will see Andre Besaidnout possibly on pole, if I see things correctly. Yeah, pole position for Andre Besaidnout, or is it Mikael Patamba? It's Mikael Patamba. Patamba will be alongside. I'm just trying to work out from this angle who's who in the zoo there, because they haven't sent us a grid, unfortunately, on the group of that reverse. There's Chris Davison. He's looking forward to another good day's action and has had a fantastic day so far. At the back, though, Davy Jabeur will be looking to improve things in the Wild Rose Gin Polo Cup, the Super Cola. That Super Cup, of course, growing in leaps and bounds, as we heard in the first part of the commentary here with Gary Formato. And now looking to see how things go. Machotzi's in the house. He'll be looking to try and get to the front and possibly steal a victory there for Volkswagen Motorsport, if that's the case. Remember, this is a man who came out of YouTube and PlayStation racing. That's where he started his racing career. He didn't come out of karting. His first opportunity to go racing was on a PlayStation console. He then won the driver's search with Volkswagen Motorsport and has slowly but surely ticked his way up the echelon of motorsport in terms of where he started as a Polo Cup contender in the development team, then moved up to a championship contender in Polo Cup, went into Super Cup, was a championship contender right from the word go, and possibly looking to try and take his first championship in South African motorsport for real racing this season, if he can beat out the likes of the cars in front. Looks like it's Sean Dermany and Mikael Patamba on the front row of GTC Super Cup. Then it'll be Andre Besaidnout and Saud Variawa, Jason Campos, I beg your pardon, and Machotzi. And then it'll be Brad Liebenberg and Jeff Kruger. That's the inverted part of the Super Cup grid. Davidson and Jabeur behind them. And of course, look out for Johan de Bruin coming through the field as well after a very tough start to race number 1. Getting taken out in turn 1 after the fracas that happened in GDCs. And then, of course, having to go off track again later on in the restart of race 1 as well. He eventually came back, which is why he didn't get into that top 6 for the inversion of the grid here for race 2. The Toyota 86 from Pretoria No Toyota will lead these cars off down in towards turn 1, and of course it'll be a rolling start. 2 separate starts here for the 2 categories. GTC start, and about 30 seconds behind that you'll get the GTC Super Cups. Low angle there of Mahotsi and Saud Variawa. Variawa also possibly, if I'm not mistaken, also one of the drivers today that will be fasting for Ramadan. Not 100% sure on that, but definitely Farhan Basha was. So we'll keep an eye on the young Carter, of course, stepping up straight into Super Cup racing, and has had a baptism of fire, but certainly has shown he's got what it takes to be in the mix there. Possibly where he's starting from now, if he can get through on Germany and on Mikhail Patamba, could be in contention for his first podium in this category with the 16 laps available to play here in race 2. Lee Thompson will be looking to survive things in the Universal Racing, Team Red Racing BMW. Hopefully get a little bit higher up than what he finished up in the first one as well. Davi Jaber all the way from Cape Town there with Manaj Maharaj. Had some battle scars sorted out by the Extreme Team Racing. And Leroy Polter, his team, getting that car back together, probably with a bit of duct tape and zip ties. Swinging left and right. You can see Michael van Rooyen dedicating a bit more swing and left and right than anybody else out there after his first lap into turn 2. Not even in the race, in the warm-up lap he looped it out, so he wants to try and get as much heat into that rubber as possible. Pace car slots in front of Mikhail Patamba, Sean Dermany, Andre Besaidenote, Saud Variawa, Keegan Campos, Mahotsi, and then Brad Liebenberg and Jeff Kruger. So already it would be up to Scott Temple and Ndakani to set the pace. 31 and 21, battle of the ones at the front of this field as well. Which one of those cars will have what it takes? You can see Toyota 86 leading out our first pack of cars, and the Golf GTI leading out the second pack, holding them off to the tune of about 30 seconds before they get sent on their way and into the battlefield that is Zwartkops Raceway for round 2 of this championship. Lights out on the pace car. Formation time. Van der Vat alongside Lee Thompson. Volk slots in behind Thompson. And Van Rooyen tucks in with them as they go around into towards turn number 8, GNH Transport Corner. Watch for the acceleration as those lights go out. Good start coming out of Temple. He drops the hammer early on and heads down towards turn 1. He's on the outside, and Mekani's going to try and squeeze him out into turn 1. Can he do that? Robert Volk in the 4-1, the other number 1 car out there, of course, 21, 31, 41 as they go down there. 2x2 into turn 2. Good start coming out of Ndakani. He hangs onto the back end of Temple. Temple's got some pressure though coming from Lee Thompson on his inside. Pressure from Van Rooyen around the outside of Robert Volk. Second of the Chemical Logistics cars as they come through there. Oh man, so close. Oh, and look at the start out of Super Cup. It's got real. Looks like there's a bit of a fight already. And Mahotsi, what a start from Mahotsi. He's already up into second place behind Mikhail Patamba. Where did that come from? Jonathan Mahotsi side by side with Saud Variawa. Saud Variawa going to try and squeeze him out into turn number 4. Look at the front though. Temple hangs on. Temple hangs on only just to keep out. Watch out for the battle now coming up towards turn 5 now. Oh, running off again. This is the Odacure car. Johan de Bruyn is off track again for the 4th time today. He's had a tough day of it out there. There's no doubt about it. As Johan de Bruyn tries to hang on to the back end of the field now. Kruger's got through. He's up to 4th place. Taking the lead out of turn 6 and into turn 7 is Mahotsi. Super Cup now led out by Volkswagen Motorsports, Jonathan Mahotsi. It's Mikhail Patamba in the Toys R Us car. Right on his tail, by the looks of things, it will be Jeff Kruger and then Brad Liebenberg. Front end, 31, 21, then it's 37, and 37 is Lee Thompson. What a start there from Julian Van der Vat. Van der Vat having a fantastic run so far there in the Ford. And remember, he took a victory down in Cape Town. So he'll be looking for a second one here in the northern regions if he can. Oh, and Mahotsi runs wide. Mahotsi very late and running wide out of turn 2 as we follow Andre Besaidenote just at the back of that pack, right on Variawa's tail. Team Perfect Circles, Andre Besaidenote in the mix there with all the youngsters and fighting as hard as they are. He's a slightly elderly statesman compared to the first 5 cars in front of him, but he certainly has got what it takes to run with them at this point. Saul Hack, his teammates in the house as well, and been watching from the sidelines, itching to get back in a car. Hopefully we'll have him back in a car very soon. But under braking down into GNH Transport Corner, the first 6 in Global Touring cars stay the same. Only one maneuver there, and that was coming out of Robert Volk. He's moved up to 4th from his position at the back of the field and made up 2 positions on the start there. Look at Jeff Kruger fighting hard. Liebenberg's on his inside. Oh, Liebenberg squeezing him out. Gives him a little nudge coming out of turn 7, and he's got the inside line for 8. But Jeff Kruger's going to keep him honest and go side by side with him. They just keep it on the rumble strip coming out of turn 8 and onto the main straight. Here comes Liebenberg trying to get on the inside of Jeff Kruger. Variawa on their tail looking for a way to pick up the pieces if something goes wrong. Jeff will have the inside line for turn 2, so that's why he hung on to that outside line through turn 1. Brave move there from Jeff Kruger. Tucks in behind Patamba as they come out of turn 2. Oh, the Hack Racing and Team Perfect Circle car on a side note in the best seat in the house. I hope we've got an onboard camera for him because, man, there would be some incredible stuff coming out of that camera. Robert Volk now closing in on Thompson. Lee Thompson going to try and go defensive to keep out the Chemical Logistics Toyota Corolla if he can. It's not always an easy job to do. As I said, a gamble that was paid off by Stuart Thompson and his team there for the Chemical Logistics second car of Scotty Temple to get him back on track and put him on pole may have just paid off here. Back into GTC Super Cup. Watch out for the battle, and just behind that it's of course Chris Davidson who's fighting hard there for honours, and just out of sight of that top 6 is Davidson fighting at this point in time, and you can see just how difficult it is in this category, because if you make one small mistake like Lee Thompson has just done there, running wide out of turn 2, possibly could be made to pay for it by Robert Volk as he goes on the inside of him. Volk going to try to drive on the inside and up the back straight away. He'll have the inside line for turn 4. Is he good enough on the brakes? Can he outgun Lee Thompson? He can. Very late braking from Robert Volk. One point in time, remember, Robert Volk, and in fact, if I'm not mistaken, it's not the official lap record, but it's certainly one of the fastest laps ever done around Zwartkops, was by Robert Volk in one of the original A1 Grand Prix cars that was tested here only a couple of seasons back. And him and, of course, the Ginger Ninja, Gavin Cronier, were piloting that car over the day, and they shared honours for the fastest laps of the day, eventually going to Robert Volk in that attempt to get a bit of testing done for A1 Grand Prix cars that are here in South Africa. Machotzi trying to hang on for this win. Can he do that ahead of Campos? Kruger now. Oh, and look at that. Patamba's got ahead of Brad Liebenberg. So Mikael Patamba has put himself between Jeff Kruger and Liebenberg. Liebenberg won't be happy about that. He's losing oodles of ground there to his championship rival, Jeff Kruger. Remember, it went down to 1 point in this championship after the end of 2020. And after a dismal season of COVID, that eventually brought the championship down to only a couple of rounds. 1 point. You can't ask for a harder position to fall out of championship. If you lose about 10 or 12 points or in a round to go, that's a different story. But on the last day, it was literally the fact that Brad had put the car on pole that secured him the championship. Unbelievable how close these championships can be. But now he's fighting with cars that were not in this championship and 2 drivers that are new to this championship, with Mikael Patamba and Saud Variawa coming out of karting. And they are now in the mix there with some of SA's finest young karters as well as finest saloon car drivers. Temple hangs on. Ndakani in second, looking for a podium for his birthday. Robert Volk's got ahead of Lee Thompson. Thompson now under pressure from the Rustenburg Rocket. Michael van Rooyen in the second of the Gazoo Racing Toyota Corollas. He in turn has got a bit of pressure there from Van der Watt. So it's 2 cars on Thompson's tail. Can he do anything about them and keep them off? It's not going to be an easy day in the saddle there for Lee Thompson. We are 5 laps into a 16 lap or so, 11 still to go. And there's a lot that can still happen in this race. Remember, it took about 12 laps for the GTC cars to catch the back end of Global Touring Car Super Cup. So we're going to also be looking out for back markers to play a role. Liebenberg's got back ahead of Patamba. Patamba now goes on the defensive in the Toys R Us car to keep out Saud Variawa. Behind him, Andrew Besaidnote for Team Perfect Circle. Besaidnote having a fantastic run there, got to say. He's sitting in 6th place overall and not too far off the front end of this in terms of pace and lap times. Speaking of lap times, a couple of guys have asked for those lap times. 104s coming out of the top 4 drivers and 106s coming out of the top 4 in Super Cup. That's the kind of lap times that these guys are putting in around the circuit here in Global Touring Cars. Here's Van Rooyen. Well, we had a little look. Lee Thompson will be very late into turn 8. Difficult man to outbrake, I can tell you. He spends a bit of time not only in Global Touring Cars, but of course developing all the cars for Universal Motorsport. And he's also had a bit of fun and games at the Internationals in those big blocks of flats that Peter du Toit owns, the Ford Galaxies and the likes thereof. So you'll definitely know how to place a car to keep a faster car out. But I think Michael van Rooyen might have just put a wheel in where he needs to. Yes, he has. There you go. The Rustenburg Rocket eventually getting through there on Thompson. And he hangs on now to try and fend off the attack from Julian Van der Watt. Oh, Van der Watt had a big look there. Thompson ran wide, and that's going to be enough for Van der Watt to squeeze him out. It looks like Lee Thompson's going to drop to the back of the pack there for Global Touring Cars after 2 mistakes, one out of turn 2. And it just opened up the door there, and that's exactly what you do not want to do. Speaking of do not want to do, that's Machotsi. Machotzi's dropped out of the lead. Oh, and there's that Germany. Yes, Germany with some problems. SMD Exotic Polo Super Cup at the top of the hill with some problems. I just picked up on a lead change for Super Cup. So if Machotzi's gone missing, it means Campos is at the front. Jason Campos is at the front of Super Cup. We saw Machotzi with some problems. I wonder if he had a spin out or possibly had an issue somewhere on track, but he's definitely dropped into the top, probably 4 or 5 position as opposed to at the lead of this race. Coming through now, the first 5 cars in Global Touring Cars, with Robert Volk trying to close the gap down now on Ndakani. He wants to be up there with his teammate if he can, make it 1-2 for Chemical Logistics if he can. Not always an easy thing to do, that is for sure. Van der Walt behind that, and then Thompson. Up to the top of the hill they go now. Once again, late braking from Van Rooyen. Van Rooyen's got some work to do, and he's running out of laps to do it. We have completed 7 of 16, so we're nearly at the halfway stage. The last pass is going to be the next pass across the line will be the halfway stage. Davidson just ahead there as well, fighting at the back end of the field, closing in actually on Andre Besaidnout and bringing Davy Jabir along for the ride. So potentially going to be a little bit of a fight there between the Cape Town-based drivers. The lap completed, that's the halfway stage reached now, 8 of 16 completed. And Van Rooyen's only got 8 more laps to try and get to the front, and it looks like it's a long way to get to the front there. Scott Temple has not put a wheel wrong since the start of this race, and that's a lot better than what we saw from him in race 1 when him and Van der Walt came together with a loop out in turn 1 on the first start. Change up for the lead, there's the confirmation of it. Campos leads out now over Kruger. Jason Campos at the front of this field, going to try and do back-to-back race victories in weekends that are back-to-back. Last weekend he took a victory, of course, in the South African Endurance Series Championship. And now looks to possibly be at the front end of Super Cup for the first time. He's been itching to get to the front of Super Cup. He's always had Brad and Jeff to contend with. Is this the day that his luck changes? Saud Variawa ahead of Machotzi ahead of Patamba. Toys R Us versus Volkswagen Motorsport versus Variawa Racing. Change up for the lead as Kruger got possibly maybe 1 or 2 push to passes left. Can he spoil the day here for Jason Campos? Out of turn 4, little battle scars and bits and pieces of race car on the outside of turn 4 there as well. Still one more race to come after this in the day's proceedings. But I can tell you something, it's been one of the best global touring car races we've had at Zwartkops for a long, long time. Respectively, that was put down in Cape Town. They're just continuing the momentum that they've had all through the season so far in 2021. Is that Volk slowing slightly? Just watching in the background there. No, he is. He's slowed up, or Van Rooyen's sped up. There's definitely a lot closer to the gap between Van Rooyen and Robert Volk. Has Robert Volk possibly got a problem? We'll keep an eye on that. Kruger behind Campos, 1 and 2 in Super Cup. Third place still Liebenberg, now trying to bridge the gap to those top 2. He's got enough time to possibly do that. If anybody can bridge that gap, it'll be Brad Liebenberg in the Sparko car. So we've got Campos Transport Turn 1 Racing at the front. Universal Motorsport Team Red Racing in second. Sparko Racing in third. And the 4th place battle, not too far behind, led out now by Saud Variawa. Keeping out Machotzi and keeping out Mikhail Patamba in the Toys R Us machine. Back to the top of the hill they go. A bit of yellow flags at the top. I don't know why there's yellow flags to the top of the hill there. Not quite sure, maybe an issue coming out of turn 5 into turn 6. I'm just worried about the fact that it could be Robert Volk. I did see him slow down. There goes 1 and 2. As they come onto the back straight now, we'll get confirmation if there was a problem with Volk. It's Scott Temple from Munda Ndakani, and definitely an issue on Volk's car. Michael Van Rooyen is closing on him rapidly. It's taken him a lap to get 2 or 3 car lengths, and now right onto the tailpiece and under the wing. So definitely a chance here for Van Rooyen to get onto the podium again. Podium for Van Rooyen will definitely bring him back into the hunt for this championship. Campos looking for his first victory in Super Cup. Jeff Kruger also looking for his first victory of 2021. Liebenberg beating him down in Cape Town on a few occasions, but here we go. Watch out for Van Rooyen as he comes onto the brakes now. Going to go with Ndakani through this turn. And because his teammate celebrating his birthday yesterday, we'll definitely look to celebrate with a podium. A victory would have been number 1 prize and number 1 present for sure, but a podium at Global Touring Cars, that'll do. Into back markers, this could help out Ndakani and help out a whole bunch of other drivers too. Oh, we got safety car. Where did that come from? I didn't see anything else on the circuit there, but a safety car has been deployed, and this is going to turn things around dramatically. Possibility of turn 5. I did see yellow flags as the Super Cup went up to turn 5. So one of it's coming out of turn 5 and at Kenwood. There it is. It's Maharaj. Minaj Maharaj has gone off at turn 5, which is a bit of a problem. And that's why we had a safety car. Now, two things. One is a good thing in terms of the safety car. Everybody gets bunched up. But, of course, the bad thing is now the lead that Scott Temple has diminishes dramatically. And we're going to be in for a bit of a sprint race here for the last couple of laps. If we stay under safety car for the next 2 or 3 laps, I just want to refresh this timing monitor. We do battle with timing here at Zwartkops. But if I look at that, I think we're into lap 9 and possibilities there. In fact, we're into lap 11 completed, so we're on to lap 12 now. So possibly about 4 or 5 laps of sprinting to come. Whew. Fun about to happen. Lee Thompson must be thinking, hang on a second, maybe I can have a go here from 6. Dive into turn 1, you never know what can happen. Vaughan Williams would have a go from there to go into turn 1 from 6th place. There's no doubt about it. So Lee Thompson is at the back of the field there for global touring cars and under safety car conditions. So we've got a little bit of sweeping left and right to try and ensure that we can get to the final part of the stage and hopefully get a bit of race action and not finish under safety cars. Maharaj's car wasn't too badly positioned and should be able to be just put behind the barrier, hopefully. And if that's the case, we can go back to race action almost instantaneously, but it depends on how quickly they can get it out and how deep it's stuck. Those Dunlop tyres tend to grip the Kidulets at this stage with the heat in them and may just bury it a bit deeper than expected. But of course, we've got some of the world's finest marshals here in Zwartkops and Kyalami combined. Other bit of help that'll come to the front runners, of course, being put into my ear here from Vaughan, the race director, is back markers won't be a factor for the front of global touring cars, but back markers may be a concern for Jason Campos and the attempt of Jeff Kruger and Liebenberg to close in. And I wonder if Lee Thompson may play the team game there and help his teammate out. Just back up Campos into Kruger's attack mode. They will give a bit of a gap on the restart. It won't be a complete rejoin of the two classes. There'll be a little bit of a gap. Looks like a bit of smoke coming out of De Bruyn's car as well, but he's been off track about 6 or 7 times today. And looks like he might be having a bit of a fight out there at the back end of the field with Davidson and Juba. The man he wants, though, is Andre Besaidnout. There's quite an awesome rivalry between those guys. And, of course, if you can see the Team Perfect Circle car just ahead of him as he opens up the door into turn 5, but not literally in racing terms, but actually opens the door to get some. The problem with these cars is, and Andre Besaidnout will testify to this, so will Saul Hack, and anybody who's raced in the Endurance Championship in these Super Cup category cars, there's not a lot of ventilation. So the cars get exceptionally hot. We're back under race action now. The safety car pulls into pit lane. Now watch Scott Temple. He's been in this situation before. He knows exactly what to do under safety car, and is he going to be able to keep out Ndakani, or is Ndakani going to have a go? Ndakani has got no option other than to have a go here with 3 to go. 3 laps of action to go. Will Ndakani go for the race victory and give himself an opportunity of an exceptional birthday present? Teammate to Scott Temple is right on Ndakani's tail, but he's got the teammate of Ndakani right on his tail. Temple runs wide. Temple runs wide with cold tyres into turn 2. Just lucky to keep it in together and on the track. But he nearly made a big mistake there with cold tyres. Remember, they won't be up to race temperature right now, having been behind the safety car for 2 laps. Campos hangs on to the lead of Super Cup in the background. You might just see that orange car from the turn 1 team. Yes, ahead of Jeff Kruger and Brad Liebenberg. So not really any changes on that restart. Running wide up to the top of the hill now. Let's see. Van Rooyen's up. Van Rooyen's up on the inside. We've got a yellow flag up into turn number 5 as well, so no overtaking. There must be an issue up at turn 5. Here comes the maneuver from Bradley Moog to close in on Kruger. And Machotsi closing onto the back end of Variawa as well. Besaidnout looking for opportunities as they come through. They're now heading up into turn 7, back down the hill towards 8. We saw Van Rooyen dive through into 2nd. Is there going to be any team orders there from Team Gazoo Racing? I don't think there are team orders in that team. There will be every man for himself out on track. So it'll be up to Van Rooyen to find a way through on his teammate. Machotsi to try and find a way through on Variawa, who hasn't been able to do that just yet, as they head down back into turn 2. Late braking from Robert Volk. He's lost out 1 position to Michael Van Rooyen. Van Rooyen maybe having one more of those opportunities to pass his teammate later on. Let's see whether or not we see any opportunities here for Jeff Kruger to spoil the day for Jason Campos' first victory in Super Cup. Be the third victor, in fact, in Super Cup ever, because it's only been Jeff Kruger and Brad Lienberg has been at the front end of the Super Cup category since its inception. Great to see a change up in terms of the top step of the podium, and I know that Jason Campos has been itching to get there. See stationary yellows up to the top of the field. I think it may be Sean Dermany and Johan de Bruin involved in that incident. Just waiting to see them come up there. There goes Davidson. No, de Bruin's still on track, so it must be Dermany. Must be Dermany who's the second car involved in an incident up at turn 5. Now as they come under braking once again for turn 8 again. Michael van Rooyen not close enough to get through on his stablemate. The two Team Gazoo Racing Corollas going down towards turn number 1. Volkswagen corner. Lee Thompson hanging on for a top 6 finish. He'll be happy with that. I'm sure he's looking forward to developing that car a bit more, to get a bit more pace out of it, to run with the Toyotas. And of course that Ford of Van der Watts. Coming out of turn 2, back to the back of the field, Davy Jabeur ahead. And look at this. Minaj, Maharaj and Dermany are out of this, but the fight is still on here for first, second and third. Campos is just defending left, right and center. He is not going to let anybody through there. And I can tell you, he is in for an epic final lap. Heading to the top of the hill now for the last time. Under braking. No change up from Van Rooyen's point of view. He has a look, but he isn't close enough to get through on Ndakani. And Ndakani's going to get a podium, or is he? Potentially. As they go there, once again, Campos late on the brakes, Kruger behind him, and then Liebenberg closing in on Kruger. Here we go, down to the line, and for the final time, the gamble paid off to get Scott Temple back on track. He's gone from pole position after a big crash in turn 1, and a victory in race number 2. Ndakani in second, and you can see Hammy on the sideline, giving a big shout out to his son for the victory, and of course the birthday present. And here comes the first victory from Campos, and the third victor ever in the Super Cup category. Jason Campos taking the victory ahead of Jeff Kruger. Kruger wins out over a good drive coming out of Brad Liebenberg. Saud Variawa in the top 5 as well. What a drive there from that young man. And Jonathan Machotsi there in the 5 spot. So that is the second heat of Global Touring Cars. Action-packed in both heats of racing as we saw. And incredible stuff yet again from the Premier Class here in South Africa. Saud Variawa beats out Machotsi, beats out, of course, the Mikel Patamba Toys R Us car. Andre Besaidnot will finish up behind that ahead of Nick Davidson, Davy Jabeur and Johan de Bruin at the back of the field. Minaj Maharaj and Sean Dermany, I think they may have come together at the top of the hill there, which is the reason we had some issues during that race with the safety car. That brings us to the end of Global Touring Cars action today. Hope you enjoyed all this action. Up next, our final bit of race action coming out of the Marlboro Crane Hour pre-66 and 68s. And that is how we're going to finish up the day's live stream.
Yeah, so good one there for us. Obviously, it's a little bit bittersweet with the reverse grid, but showed we really had the pace. We were able to break a gap away. Unfortunate about the first heat where we had a bit of a racing incident, but really happy. I can't thank the team enough. The guys from WCT, Stuart, Justin, Vainant, guys, Warren, awesome job. And Ian Schofield, obviously, without him, this wouldn't be possible. So onward towards P, and let's keep the momentum up and hope for the best.
So yeah, it was an extremely tough race. Got a little bit lucky in the beginning, kept my nose clean. Jonathan obviously had a problem going up the hill into 5, got around him. And we were able to keep the pace up, which I was quite happy with. The safety car didn't help me, because I thought I was managing the pace very well from where I was. Just put them right on top of me and I started watching my mirrors. So wasn't a great finish, but at the end of the day, there's no remarks common. It's a win and I'll take it all day. So thank you very much.